Chapter 6. The man approached the mall, not knowing why. He was just drawn to it, to the people inside. Something was going on in this place, and the man wanted to find out what. It was night, and no one noticed him as he walked into one of the 4 entrances. This one was near the movie theater, which was now closed for good. The grills were nearly all the way down, the inside lobby pitch black. At this late hour, the mall was not very busy. It wasn't busy during the day either. This place was on its last legs, it seemed. The building was long and narrow, shops on either side. On each end was a department store, both also closed. The man could see a Macy's or Sears or something to his right. Down at that end was some kind of light show. Green lasers and fog billowed up from a particular store on the right. The man now realized what had drawn him here. It was a horror movie convention of some kind, local with no celebrities or anyone else who mattered, just displays and merchandise and fans. A group of teens passed him, made up of 2 boys and 1 girl. The girl was locking arms with one of the guys, and she was dragging him to the horror store. The man followed the group, as if he belonged with the kids. The man watched the group stand outside the store, a dark arch serving as the entrance, draped with black curtains. They ducked into the store, and, a moment later, the man followed. Inside, there were displays set up next to each other. There were more lasers, not just green, but red and blue as well. And even more fog. The man looked at one display in particular. It was for a movie he enjoyed as a kid, a long time ago. A TV was set up for the display, showing footage from the horror flick. There was merchandise scattered in front, toys and masks and fake knives. The man looked over to the group he had followed, saw them make their way to the rear of the dark store. An hour passed, and the mall closed for the night. The shoppers were gone, except for the trio of teens, who finally left the storeroom where they had hidden. The man watched from behind a curtain by one of the displays as they approached the glass door of the store. "We're locked in," one of the guys said, worried.
"No, we're not," said the girl. "I used to work here. The lock is broken, see?"
She pushed on the door, and a loud click followed. The man watched them walk into the main area of the mall, but the door didn't close behind them. He made to follow them, not knowing why. He just wanted to be near them. The door clicked after him, echoing down the long stretch of mall. The man leapt behind a fountain just as one of the boys said, "What was that?"
"The door probably didn't close all the way when we left," said the girl.
They continued on their way. The man could hear their footsteps, and he stood to follow once again. The lights were as dim as they were when he arrived at the mall, but now there were no lasers or fog. The entire building was so quiet. "What about security?" the girl's boyfriend asked.
"Rosie barely gets her fat ass out of the office over there."
The girl pointed to the right, behind the food court.
"She usually starts her rounds after 2. So we have at least 4 hours to ourselves. The guy who's on now already did his last rounds, and Rosie will be here at midnight."
"They should have never fired you," one of the guys said. This was the first thing he'd said since leaving the horror store. He seemed like the third wheel, shy and out of place. The trio passed the food court, heading toward the department store at the other end. The man could see it from where he was, a large black opening. There were no security gates or doors. It was open to anyone from inside the mall. The man could see an escalator as he drew closer. He tried to catch up to the trio. He was tired of being alone. Though he was older than them, he figured they would invite him along. He was, like them, someone looking for a little fun in an empty building. He just wanted to greet them, to be friendly to them. The girl was pretty. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a ponytail, her jeans tight, showing off her wonderful curves. The tail swished from side to side as she bounced down the mall. She kept her boyfriend's arm around her shoulders, laughing at something he said. The other boy looked around at their dim surroundings. He seemed nervous.
"By the way," the girl said, "I wasn't fired. I was laid off. This whole building is getting bulldozed in a year or so."
"Whatever, Trish," said Third Wheel, almost looking back at the man following them. "I really don't think we should be in here."
"Jesus, Danny, if you didn't want to come, you should have stayed home. You're an embarrassment of a brother,"
Boyfriend said. Danny fell back from the group a little.
"You're an asshole, Marcus,"
Trish said to her boyfriend. She looked back to Danny, probably to see if he was okay. That was when she noticed something behind them. She gasped and broke from her boyfriend's embrace. The boys turned. The man turned as well, though he wasn't sure what they were looking at. He thought he heard something from near the food court, but it was dim down there. Laughter. That's what he heard. Something was coming from the darkness of the food court.
"Run!"
Trish yelled. Everyone, including the man, ran. The man could hear the laughter echoing throughout the mall. It sounded so close. He was too afraid to look back, to see what was following them. "Wait for me!" he yelled to the group. Trish screamed as they ran into the large department store. Danny fell flat on his face. Marcus turned back to help his brother, but when he looked up, he yelled and ran the other way. Whatever was chasing them must have been terrifying to look at if Marcus abandoned his brother to get away from it. Danny didn't look up, nor did he even try to stand. He covered his head with his arms. The man wanted to help the boy up, but found he couldn't stop. He continued on, seeing Marcus and Trish try to get out through the exit doors.
"He's coming!"
Trish screamed at her boyfriend.
"He's going to kill us!"
The person, or thing, chasing them must have passed Danny and kept on going as well. It must be right behind the man, but he couldn't turn to look. "Not if I kill his ass first." Marcus pushed himself off the doors and raced toward the man. He was a big teenager, probably played football. The man trusted the boy to take care of their pursuer. He tried to get out of the boy's way, but found himself going forward, never slowing. Marcus was going to run into him if he didn't move. The teen punched the man right in the face. For a moment, the man was stunned. Why was Marcus attacking him? The man tackled the teen before he could stop himself and wrapped a hand around his throat, holding him down. Why was he attacking Marcus? The man could hear Trish scream from up ahead, so he looked up. She had her hands over her mouth, her eyes wide. The man heard choking noises, but didn't know where they were coming from. He looked behind him, expecting to see their pursuer, but he only saw Danny, still lying in his protective position. The man looked back to Trish, who was now running up the escalator to the right. The man looked down at Marcus, wanting to apologize. He noticed his fingers were digging into the boy's throat so deeply. The neck looked like a toothpaste tube squeezed from the middle. Marcus's face was dark, his tongue sticking out. He was dead. The man was on his feet, and hands, he noticed, as he raced up the escalator. He realized with horrible acuity the kids hadn't been running with him. They had been running from him. As he reached the top floor, he remembered this wasn't the first time someone had run from him. He had forgotten entirely, but it all came rushing back now. It always came rushing back. The man didn't see Trish among the abandoned display cases and clothes racks, but he knew she was close. He could hear her breathing. He headed straight ahead, hearing someone shuffle away from him. He saw Trish's rear end behind a counter. The man wanted to apologize for killing her boyfriend. He hadn't meant to. He just didn't want to be alone anymore. He just wanted friends. He tried to approach her, reaching out to her with his hands, the hands that killed her boyfriend. Trish screamed.
He saw her standing behind the counter, staring at him with even wider eyes than before. "Please don't kill me," she pleaded. He made his way to her. She screamed again, for the final time. Her body fell to the first floor. Her scream was cut off abruptly when she hit. The man went back downstairs and found Danny still huddled on the floor at the border of the mall and department store. He was shaking like a leaf in the wind. The man stared down at him. Danny didn't have a chance to scream.